Hello, everyone, and welcome to English Podcast for Life. I'm James.
And I'm Anna. Hi, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of the most common questions we get from our listeners. How can I go from being a beginner to fluent in English?
Yes, and this is such a great topic because learning English isn't just about memorizing words or grammar. It's about a journey full of mistakes, discoveries, and small victories.
Exactly. And don't worry, this podcast is for everyone. Whether you just started learning or have been studying for a few years, there's something here for you.
Before we dive in, I want to share a little story from my own English learning journey. When I first started, I was so afraid to speak. I remember being in a class and being asked to introduce myself. I froze. I literally could only say, hello, my name is, and then nothing.
Oh, I know that feeling. I had a similar experience. My first time trying to order coffee in English, I said, I want, big coffee, please. The barista laughed kindly, but I felt so embarrassed.
Exactly. But those little moments, they're part of the journey, and they teach you so much. That's why today we want to give you practical advice, examples, and encouragement.
Yes, because learning English should be exciting, not stressful.
Absolutely. So grab a notebook if you like, or just sit back and listen. Let's start from the very beginning, the beginner stage.
Okay, James, let's talk about beginners. When someone starts learning English, it can feel really overwhelming.
Yes, you have so many new words, grammar rules, and sounds you've never heard before. But the good news is, you don't need to learn everything at once.
Exactly. At this stage, it's all about survival English. Simple phrases, greetings, and questions that help you get through everyday situations.
Right. For example, greetings like, hello, how are you? Or introducing yourself, my name is James. Nice to meet you.
And don't forget to ask basic questions. Where is the bathroom? Or how much does this cost? These are small phrases, but they're powerful.
Yes. And another important tip for beginners is listening practice. Listen to children's shows, slow podcasts, or songs with lyrics. This helps your ear get used to English sounds.
Exactly. When I started, I would watch cartoons with English subtitles. It felt funny at first, but I started noticing patterns in words and sentences.
And practice speaking, even if it's just to yourself. I used to describe what I was doing. I am cooking pasta. Now I am washing the pan.
Talking to yourself might feel strange, but it works. And you can also record yourself. Listening back helps you notice mistakes and improve.
Another thing beginners often struggle with is vocabulary. It's normal to forget words at first. The key is not to memorize everything at once.
Yes, focus on the most useful words first. Words for food, places, daily activities. Then gradually expand.
And remember, mistakes are part of the learning process. Don't be afraid to speak. Even if you say, I good to the store, instead of I went to the store, it's okay.
Exactly. Children make mistakes too. And they still learn. The same applies to you.
Finally, build a small daily habit. Even 10-15 minutes a day is better than one long, exhausting session once a week. Consistency is what helps you improve steadily.
Yes, daily habits create momentum and celebrate your small victories. Maybe today you learned 5 new words or managed to say a sentence without hesitation. That's progress.
Absolutely. Every small step counts. And that's what beginners need to remember. Start small, practice consistently, and don't fear mistakes.
And that's just the beginning. Once you've mastered the basics, you're ready to move to the next stage, the intermediate stage, where things get a bit more exciting.
All right, Anna, now we're at the intermediate stage. This is where learners can make sentences, but fluency is still tricky.
Yes, you can talk, but you might hesitate or struggle to find the right word. And comprehension is sometimes difficult, especially with fast speech.
Exactly. At this stage, the focus shifts from just surviving to expanding your vocabulary and understanding context.
For example, instead of just knowing I eat, you might learn phrases like I'm having lunch or I grabbed a quick snack. These are more natural ways people actually speak.
Yes, and watching TV shows or movies with subtitles can be very helpful. You hear how words are used in real conversations.
I remember when I first watched a sitcom in English without subtitles. At first, I only understood 30% of what they said. But after a few weeks of watching, I started catching expressions like, "What's up?" or "Hang on a second."
Exactly. Exposure is key. Another strategy is reading simple books or news articles. Even a children's book can teach sentence structure, vocabulary, and natural dialogue.
And speaking more becomes important too. You can find language partners online, join discussion groups, or even talk to yourself in more complex sentences.
Right. I used to practice describing my day in English. I'd say, "This morning I woke up, drank coffee, and read the news. Then I went for a short walk."
That's a great tip. And don't just focus on grammar exercises. Start using grammar in context. For example, instead of memorizing the past tense rule, try saying sentences. Yesterday, I visited my friend, or I watched a movie last night.
Yes, and a lot of learners feel stuck here because they know grammar and vocabulary, but still hesitate when speaking.
The trick is to practice thinking in English. Don't translate from your native language. Try forming thoughts directly in English.
Exactly. Even short thoughts help. For example, I need to buy groceries. I hope the store is not crowded.
And don't forget about idioms and expressions. At this stage, learning a few common phrases makes you sound much more natural. For example, it's raining cats and dogs, instead of it's raining a lot.
Yes, these make conversations more interesting and natural. And you can practice by listening to podcasts or short videos where native speakers use these expressions.
Also, keep a small notebook or phone note for new words and phrases, but don't just write them. Use them in sentences and conversations.
Exactly. The intermediate stage is all about active practice, listening, reading, and speaking in context.
And don't forget motivation. Many learners feel stuck here and think, I'm not improving. But if you keep practicing daily and exposing yourself to English, fluency will come.
Yes, think of it like climbing a hill. At first, it's slow, but each step brings you closer to the top. And the view, fluency, is worth it.
Perfect analogy. And one last tip for intermediate learners, start interacting with English content more actively. For example, when watching a video, pause and repeat sentences out loud, or try summarizing what you heard in your own words.
Yes, active engagement is much better than passive listening. It trains both your brain and mouth to use English naturally.
And that's really the bridge to the next stage, advanced learning, where your goal is full fluency and natural conversation.
All right, Anna, now we're at the exciting part, the advanced stage. This is where learners start sounding natural and fluent.
Yes, at this stage, you can express yourself clearly, understand native speakers, and even use idioms and slang comfortably.
Exactly. But reaching this stage requires more than just grammar and vocabulary. You need to think in English, feel the language, and adapt to context.
One of the biggest differences I noticed when I reached advanced level was confidence. I wasn't translating in my head anymore. I just spoke.
Yes, and listening becomes much easier too. You start picking up humor, sarcasm, cultural references, and subtle meanings.
And this is where idioms and phrasal verbs become your best friends. For example, phrases like hit the nail on the head or break the ice make your English sound natural.
Absolutely. Let's give a few examples. Instead of saying, "You are correct," you could say, "You hit the nail on the head." Instead of, "We need to start a conversation," you could say, "Let's break the ice."
Exactly. And using these phrases shows that you understand not just the words, but the culture.
Another important point at the advanced stage is fluency. in speaking under pressure. For example, giving presentations, participating in meetings, or making small talk in social situations.
Yes, and the best way to practice this is to put yourself in real situations. Speak with native speakers, join English clubs, or even attend workshops or webinars in English.
And don't worry if you make mistakes. Even at advanced level, no one speaks perfectly all the time. The key is clarity and confidence.
Exactly. I remember once I was at an English networking event and I forgot a word mid-sentence. I just described it instead. The other person understood perfectly.
That's a great strategy. Being flexible and resourceful in conversation is part of fluency.
Another aspect is listening to advanced content, podcasts, debates, news, or even literature. This exposes you to complex sentence structures, academic vocabulary, and different accents.
And reading is equally important. Reading novels, newspapers, or even blogs in English improves comprehension and helps you see how grammar and vocabulary are used naturally.
At this stage, writing also becomes powerful. Keeping a journal, blogging, or sending detailed emails in English can sharpen your skills.
Absolutely. And don't forget about cultural context. Understanding idioms, humor, and social norms makes your English sound even more native.
Yes, for example, understanding that "that's a piece of cake" means something is easy, not that someone is literally talking about dessert, is crucial.
Exactly. And finally, remember that advanced learners never really finish learning. Even native speakers learn new words, phrases, and cultural references every day.
That's the beauty of language. It's a lifelong journey, and the more you use it, the more fluent and confident you become.
So if you're at the advanced stage, focus on active use, cultural immersion, and real-life practice. That's how you move from good English to truly fluent English.
And that's the goal for all learners, to speak, understand, and feel English naturally in every situation. All right, James, we've talked about beginner, intermediate, and advanced stages, but there's one thing that affects learners at all levels: motivation.
Absolutely. Learning English is a long journey, and it's easy to feel tired or frustrated sometimes. Even advanced learners hit walls.
Yes, I remember a time when I felt stuck. I was learning idioms and new vocabulary, but I kept forgetting words and I started doubting myself.
I've been there too. I remember spending hours on grammar exercises and thinking, am I really making progress? That feeling can be discouraging.
So let's talk about ways to stay motivated and avoid burnout. First, set small, achievable goals. Don't aim to master everything at once.
Exactly. Instead of saying, I want to speak English perfectly, say, today I will learn 5 new words and use them in a sentence. Small wins add up.
And make learning fun. Incorporate English into your hobbies. Love music? Listen to English songs and try to understand the lyrics. Love cooking? Follow recipes in English.
Yes. And another tip is to celebrate progress. No matter how small. Maybe today, you successfully had a 5-minute conversation in English without hesitation. That's a huge achievement.
Exactly. And don't compare yourself to others. Everyone learns at a different pace. Focus on your journey and your improvement.
Also, take breaks when you need them. Sometimes stepping away for a day or two can refresh your mind and make learning more effective.
Yes, burnout happens when we push too hard. Balance learning with rest and enjoyable English activities.
Another important thing is community support. Connect with other learners, join online groups, or practice with friends. Sharing struggles and achievements keeps motivation high.
Absolutely. I joined an English-speaking group online, and just chatting with other learners every week made me feel energized and inspired.
And don't forget the power of visualizing success. Imagine yourself speaking fluently, traveling, or working in English confidently. That mental picture keeps you moving forward.
Yes, visualization works wonders. I often imagine myself giving a presentation in English or having a smooth conversation with a native speaker. It motivates me to practice daily.
Finally, remember why you started learning English. Maybe it's for travel, work, education, or connecting with people worldwide. Keep that reason in mind when things get tough.
Exactly. Motivation isn't just about pushing harder. It's about keeping your goals and passion alive.
So, to summarize this part, set small goals, make learning fun, celebrate progress, rest when needed, join communities, visualize success, and remember your why.
If you do these things, you'll not only avoid burnout, but also enjoy the journey of learning English.
And that's what makes fluency possible: consistency, passion, and joy in the process. All right, Anna, we've covered beginner, intermediate, and advanced stages, and how to stay motivated. Now let's talk about real-life fluency.
Yes, this is where learners start using English naturally in everyday situations, at work, travel, or social events.
Exactly. And the key here is contextual practice. You need to practice English in the situations you'll actually use it.
For example, if you want to travel, practice asking for directions, ordering food, or booking a hotel. If it's work, practice emails, presentations, or phone calls in English.
Yes, role-playing is very useful too. Pretend you're in a restaurant and order food. Or have a mock business meeting with a friend.
And don't worry about making mistakes. Real-life fluency comes from communicating, not perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes.
Another tip is listening actively. Pay attention to how people speak, their tone, speed, and word choice. Mimic not just the words, but the rhythm and intonation.
Yes, I remember when I first tried mimicking a podcast host's intonation. At first it felt strange, but gradually my speech started sounding more natural.
Exactly. And use English to express your opinions and feelings. Instead of just answering questions, try adding stories or explanations. For example, I love hiking because it helps me relax and enjoy nature.
That's a good point. It's about moving from simple sentences to full expressive communication.
Also, try to think ahead in English during conversations. Anticipate questions and plan responses. This reduces hesitation and makes speech smoother.
Yes. For example, if someone asks, "What do you do on weekends?" you might think, "I usually relax at home, go hiking, or meet friends. Sometimes I practice English too."
Perfect. Another real-life tip is engage with native speakers whenever possible. Don't just practice with other learners. Native speakers teach you natural phrases, slang, and cultural cues.
And don't be afraid to ask for clarification. If you don't understand, you can say, "Could you repeat that?" Or, "What does that mean?" Most people are happy to help.
Absolutely. And in group conversations, listen actively and contribute naturally. Don't overthink grammar. Focus on expressing ideas clearly.
Finally, make English part of your daily life. Label items in your house, narrate your day in English, or even think in English while doing tasks.
Exactly. The more English is integrated into your daily life, the faster you'll reach real-life fluency.
So, real-life fluency isn't just about vocabulary or grammar. It's about confidence, context, active listening, and daily practice.
Yes, and remember, every conversation, even small ones, is a step toward full fluency. All right, Anna. We've gone through all stages of learning English and real-life fluency. Now it's time for some final tips and encouragement for our listeners.
Yes, learning English is a journey, and every learner will face challenges along the way. But with patience and persistence, anyone can become fluent.
First tip, consistency is key. Even just 15-30 minutes a day adds up over weeks and months. Daily practice is better than long sessions once a week.
Exactly. Small, consistent steps are more effective than trying to learn everything at once. It's about forming a habit.
Second tip, Embrace mistakes. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. Don't fear errors. They're proof that you're practicing.
Yes, I remember saying, I very like this movie once. A friend corrected me to, I really like this movie. I laughed, but I never forgot the correct phrase.
Exactly. Mistakes help you remember and improve faster than memorizing rules alone.
Third tip, immerse yourself in English. Listen, read, watch, speak, and think in English as much as possible. The more you use it, the more natural it becomes.
And don't forget passion and curiosity. Learn topics you love, whether it's sports, music, technology, or cooking, in English. It keeps the learning process exciting.
Absolutely. When you enjoy learning, it doesn't feel like work, and progress comes naturally.
Fourth tip, measure your progress. Keep track of milestones, like finishing a book, watching a movie without subtitles, or holding a conversation without hesitation.
Yes, celebrating these small wins keeps motivation high. It reminds you that every step counts.
Finally, remember that fluency is a lifelong journey. Even native speakers continue learning new words, expressions, and ways to communicate effectively.
Exactly. English isn't just a skill. It's a tool for connecting with people, culture, and opportunities worldwide.
So to all our listeners, keep practicing, stay curious, don't fear mistakes, and enjoy the journey. Every word you learn and every sentence you speak brings you closer to fluency.
Yes, and remember, you're not alone. Millions of learners are on this path, and every effort you make matters.
So go out there, speak, listen, read, write, and immerse yourself in English. Your journey to fluency is possible, and it starts today.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of English Podcast for Life. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone, and happy learning.